All right, good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the sub-applicant briefing for Hazard Mitigation Grant Program Post-Fire 5394. I'm Anna Feigem. I'm the Deputy State Hazard Mitigation Officer. I've also, my contact information is on this front slide. I've also listed Stephen Richardson's contact information. He's the Mitigation and Individual Assistance Manager. Do want to note that this is being recorded. It will be posted on the Oregon Office of Emergency Management's YouTube page, and a link to that recording, as well as the slide deck, will be sent out through our channels in the coming days. Also on this front page is the OAM Hazard Mitigation Assistance webpage link. We are trying to continuously update this page with open grant rounds, so that we can make this your first stop for hazard mitigation information. Also note that on this page is our newly created hazard mitigation grant program handbook. The most updated version of that is linked to this page. That's nowhere else in this slide deck, so I just wanted to make you aware of that. And then lastly, if you have alternate language and format needs for hazard mitigation documents and outreach, please let us know. We're trying to gather some of that information. We are building capacity here at Oregon Office of Emergency Management to provide those resources. So any information will be fantastic for us. Before I start, I just want to note that this is, if you've been on other sub-applicant briefings, this will be fairly similar. There are a few processy differences. I just want to make you aware of that. And I will be allowing people into this meeting as we go along, so my apologies for any pauses that might happen. Feel free to ask any questions along the way, but please keep them to what is presented on the slide until the end. All right, so just a general overview of hazard mitigation assistance grant programs. We have pre-disaster rounds and post-disaster rounds. Pre-disaster, those are available annually. There's a Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, or BRIC, which replaced pre-disaster mitigation PDM in 2020. And then we have flood mitigation assistance FMA. The pre-application letters of intent for both BRIC and FMA actually just closed on Friday for the 2021 round or iteration. And then moving on to post-disaster, these are by presidentially declared disasters. So we have Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, and then we have Hazard Mitigation Grant Program Post-Fire, HMGP. So 5327 will, sorry, 5394, my numbers are all screwed up, will be under HMGP Post-Fire. Just a reminder to mute yourself if you're not muted already. So we don't have any background noise. Thank you in advance. All right, so this slide is an overview of important dates as well as important information about the disaster. So for 5394, the directly affected areas were Deschutes, Klamath, and Lake counties. There are actually 3 fire management assistance grants underneath 53, rolled up into 5394. 5394, 5396, and 5409. The incident date of that first FMAG 5394 was June 29th, 2021, and the declaration date is June 30th, 2021. OEM mitigation unit, most likely Stephen Richardson, sent out the initial statewide guidance on September 16th, 2021, which included the notice of funding opportunity. I've attached that Word document to this slide as well, so you can view that if you haven't received it. Speaking of, if you didn't receive that email, if you would like to be added to our listserv and you're not already, please email the schmo at mil.state.or.us. You can find on that initial slide, and we'll add you to that listserv. So for 5394, the pre-applications or letters of intent are due to the SHMO November 26, 2021, or no later than November 26, 2021. The sub-applications are due to the SHMO February 28th, 2022, so that we can turn around and submit those to FEMA March 31st, 2022. And the period of performance for this round is March 31st, 2025. Do note that there is an opportunity to apply for extensions to this for up to 3 years. And then total federal funding for this round is $1,752,249. Here's an overview of the breakdown between project categories. So you have projects, plans, 5% initiative, and advanced assistance. We will go over what these categories are on a future slide. Just wanted to show you the grouping or the breakdown of funds within each category. So see, for each disaster, these are broken down by percentages. For 5% initiatives, that's 5% of the total. Plans are 7%, and then AA is up to 25% or $10 million, whatever is less. And then the remaining is projects. And then also on the bottom right here, you'll have local management costs ceiling, which is $116,816.60. We will go over what management costs are also on a future slide. All right, so for every grant round, we have priorities here at the state to move on to submit those sub-applications to FEMA and to get awarded. So for 5394, we have a few priorities here. So number one is eligible entities within the areas directly affected by the 2021 FMAGs, which are Deschutes, Klamath, and Lake counties. We will go over what eligible entities are on the next slide. Number two priority is wildfire-related mitigation activities. The typical wildfire mitigation activities are creation of defensible space, application of ignition-resistant construction, and hazardous field reduction. This Word document to the right here actually goes through and gives some more information about those three activities. But I also want to note that wildfire-related or those other mitigation activities that are related to wildfires, such as post-fire flooding and erosion control, are also on that priority list. That is not an extensive list. You'll see this PDF here on the right is a FEMA document that goes through some of those other mitigation activities that are related to wildfires. So I recommend taking a look at that. And there are some other really great guides, FEMA guides at this link. Number three, we will give particular attention to those entities who haven't received hazard mitigation assistance grants or have received only a few of those in the past. We understand that there's varying capacity across the state in terms of personnel and funds. We only want to give space and opportunity to those who have not received or been able to receive grants in the past. So that is why that is what the intent of number three is. And then number four, entities with the current FEMA approved natural hazard mitigation plan. We want to emphasize keeping your NHMPs current to be able to apply for hazard mitigation, but also note that you can create or update both your natural hazard mitigation plan with hazard mitigation funds. That is a priority for this round, as well as the community wildfire protection plan creation or updates. So who is eligible to apply for hazard mitigation assistance funding? So you'll see here on this table, it's broken down by HMGP. You can also include HMGP post-fire in that column, BRIC and FMA. So we're only going to look at the green box here. So who's eligible? State agencies, federally recognized tribes, local governments and communities, and private nonprofit organizations. There is a requirement to have a natural hazard mitigation plan to receive funds at the time of HMGP award on that specific date to post-disaster. There is an opportunity to provide an extraordinary circumstances exception once FEMA is ready to award to receive a 1-year extension to get that FEMA approved NHMP. Also note here that private nonprofits are exempt from this requirement, and we'll go over in the next slide what the definition of a private nonprofit is. So according to the 44 CFR policy, private nonprofit for the purpose of FEMA hazard mitigation grants is a non-governmental agency or entity that is classified under 501c, D, or E, or meets the conditions of number 2 here. This could vary across grants, other grants or other processes that you might have been involved with previously. So we wanted to say that up front for expectation management. So life of a HMA sub-application. So this is our state level review. So number 1 here, the sub-application period opens, which is also the declaration date, which is for 5394, June 30th, 2021. Pre-applications, this is a reiteration of the previous slide where I went through the important dates, but more so in the process of how we go through the review here at the state level. Pre-applications letter of intent are due to the HMO by November 26, 2021. Number 3 is sort of a sub box, I would say. Just a note that we at the state will review pre-applications on a rolling basis as they're submitted and provide back eligibility information as well as guidance to how to approach a sub-application. Oh, I do want to back up to number 2. I did attach the LOI form to this slide here. Note that this is different and updated from Brown's up to 4562 with the intent purpose to gather more information from the sub-applicant in the LOI round so that we can do a more thorough review on the front end. And we'll go, once we go through this process, it might make a little more sense of what I mean on the front end. That was based off of lessons learned from 4562. All right, so once November 6th rolls around, number 4, if needed, we will activate the interagency hazard mitigation team. If needed means if we exceed the federal amount that we receive, that we have been allocated, and this will happen November 29th to December 3rd, 2021. Regardless if the IHMT is activated, number 5 is what, number 5 is what you want to be looking for. Once November 6th has passed and the LOI deadline has passed, we will notify you if you have been selected to move on the sub-application portion by December 3rd, 2021. So at this point, this is kind of the decision point for you and for us. So the rest of these steps are really by invitation only. So once we notify you that we would like you to continue to the sub-application portion of this process, we will send you that email by December 3rd. And you have until February 28th, 2022 to submit that sub-application to us at the HMO email. Again, we will review these as sub-applications as they come in on a rolling basis so that we can review those sub-applications and get back any questions or additional information we may need, also known as state RFIs, to make sure that your sub-application is fully complete before we officially submit all sub-application and materials to FEMA by March 31st, 2022. Once that is complete, it goes into the FEMA process, to which we have very little control of here at the state. So life of a HMA sub-application in the FEMA process or FEMA review process, note that this can take 10 to 18 months. HMGP or HMA money is not fast money. Just want to make that note up front. Because of particularly environmental historical preservation review, particularly for projects, 5% initiatives, those for which you'll be breaking ground. I will say that plans and advanced assistance may not take as long as 10 to 18 months, but we put this up there just for expectation management. So FEMA will go through a programmatic review, through a technical review, through an environmental historical preservation review if needed, and then send back to us at the state request for information. So again, on that sub-application, is there missing information? Does FEMA need more information from you? And we will initiate that conversation with you, make sure that we receive that information from you and send it back to FEMA. Once FEMA has all the information they need and they can approve it, they move on to award. And we will notify you once FEMA is ready to award or has awarded the project. So pre-disaster versus post-disaster subcategories. I only want to focus on post-disaster since that's what we're talking about today. And again, there's those 4 categories that we'll go over here in the next slide. So there's 4 different subcategories that can be applied for. Note that you can combine elements or projects, but if they are, let's say if there are across subcategories, that will not be allowed. So if you have a project and a plan, you have to submit 2 separate LOIs, which will move on to 2 separate sub-applications if you're invited. Just want to make that note. So for projects, there are a variety of eligible projects related to natural hazards. At the end of this slide deck are a number of resources, great documents that FEMA has put together that outline what eligible projects are by hazard and some examples of those. So I would recommend looking through that document if you're looking for ideas or how to make your project eligible. For plans, natural hazard mitigation plans and community wildfire protection plans are 2 of the most common uses for planning funds, but there are additional ways that you can use planning funds. And I've attached this PDF here so that you can look at it in your own time for other ways to use these funds. Do note here that emergency operation plans are ineligible as those are considered to be response plans, which is not eligible under mitigation, hazard mitigation assistance. For initiative, these are really the projects that are difficult to evaluate using the FEMA approved cost effectiveness methodology. So we'll go over BCA in the next slide, benefit cost analysis in the next slide. But 5% initiatives do not require a benefit cost analysis. Benefit cost analysis can be extensive on your part. And there are a number of reasons why would maybe want to waive the BCA. One of those would be potentially you don't have the population base in the area to get the ratio where you want it. And again, I'll go over that in the next slide. Or it's a project that doesn't have proven techniques to prove that cost effectiveness. So we would place them then under 5% initiative. But if you go back to that breakdown of funds, you'll see that there are limited funds in the 5% category. And then assistance is one we've seen a lot of lately. So you can use advanced assistance for a number of things. One is to develop mitigation strategies, do some scoping, put together data or implement assessments that you may need for hazard mitigation assistance. And the big one here is to develop complete HMA sub-applications. The ideal for this assistance would be to develop a project sub-application, including all the elements, to a comprehensive sub-application in a timely manner. In previous grant rounds, we have had people try to put both advanced assistance and a project LOI under the same grant round in hopes that they could get everything funded under the same grant round. Moving forward, it probably seems more likely to have an AA and one grant round to then submit your project sub-application in the next grant round, depending on funds. I realize that we don't know when disasters are going to happen, so it's a little bit up in the air, but they will happen. So we will have more money in the future. Other information on what could be eligible for advanced assistance is available in this PDF here. And I do want to note that you can reach out to us at any time and we can provide more information or any project ideas you might have to see if they'd be eligible. This PowerPoint is really just to give you an overview of this program. So benefit cost analysis, BCA, as mentioned on the previous slide, is typically the biggest challenge for sub-applicants. This compares future risk benefits, reduction benefits to its costs. So you want to have that BCA ratio, or it needs to be 1.0 or greater using FEMA methodologies. And there are note that there are pre-calculated benefits for several project areas, including hazard mitigation grant program, post-fire, post-wildfire, and I have attached that PDF here. And there's a BCA toolkit that you can use for to get that benefit cost ratio to demonstrate the cost effectiveness. Also, this support line has been very helpful to sub-entities in the past rounds, but do note that they cannot review or perform benefit cost analysis. So in terms of costs, so hazard mitigation grant program cost share is 75% federal and 25% local costs. These can be a combination of cash, third-party in-kind services, materials. There are a few resources attached to this, the FEMA cost share guide, as well as an internal or a state level job aid that we have created. For more information about that. Local management costs. So FEMA will provide 100% funding for sub-applicant management costs. This can be up to 5% of your total project costs, and that will be added to that will be on top of your total. This also includes indirect costs. There is a management cost aid document attached to this slide. And the important thing to remember for management costs is this grant management versus project management distinction. So management costs are going to be like grant management. Anything project management is going to be in your general budget. So grant management could include delivery of technical assistance, managing awards, so completing the request for reimbursements, closeouts, monitoring, etc., technical monitoring, purchase of equipment per diem, and travel expenses and professional development related to this project. Staff salary costs, again, directly related to performing the listed activities above. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about pre-award costs. So these are costs incurred after the sub-application period has opened, so the declaration date, but prior to FEMA award. This is not allowable for advanced assistance, so that'll be important to note. What pre-awarded costs are intended for are anything up to breaking ground on projects. So because FEMA award can take 10 to 18 months, that is a long time to wait to start doing any activities. So pre-award costs are here to let you do some of that work before getting awarded. You will have to outline this in your budget. Make sure that you put it in the pre-award cost category, or else you will not get reimbursed for those pre-award costs. All right, and here are some of the links that I talked about throughout the PowerPoint. I would recommend going through a lot of, if not all of these links, very helpful information in terms of if you need some support on what some eligible ideas and projects would be. These guidance documents are very helpful. So I just put these here for you to review on your own time. And then lastly, I did want to, although we're talking specifically about 5394 in this PowerPoint, I did want to give you an overview of what the open grant rounds are currently. So we do have 4599. That initial statewide guidance was sent out June 14th, 2021, and webinars such as this were also done after that date, and probably up on that YouTube site as well. I have attached the Word document here for the 4599 notice of funding opportunity as well for your awareness. Those pre-applications are due November 4th, 2021. Then we will do our review and let you know if you're selected to move on to the sub-application round. This 4591.9 was the Oregon winter storms that happened in February of this year. And you can see the directly affected areas, including the Grand Round Indian Reservation up here. And then also, just for your awareness, this is yet to be sent out statewide, but we should be sending out a statewide email regarding 4499, which was the COVID-19 disaster, in the next few weeks. So there will be additional funds available under that grant round. All right, that's all I have in terms of the slideshow. So if anybody on the call has any questions.
Hey, Anna, this is Eric Rao from Oregon
Yeah,
State Fire Marshal. Hey, to hear your voice. I just wanted to say that we can't access the attached documents, or at least I cannot. Maybe others on the call can, but and nor could I click on the links that you were highlighting in the presentation. I mean, I could see them, but I can't make it open in my browser.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. We will send out this slide deck after presentation in the next few days, so you should be able to access them then.
Excellent, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Don and Jay, I have your emails, and we will definitely be getting this presentation, the slide deck out to you in the next coming days, as I just mentioned.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about 5394 or just general questions about HMA? Yes, Debbie, I'll get you as well. Great, Zach, I have yours as well. Yeah, as mentioned on the front slide, for those of you who hadn't joined yet, on the OEM webpage, Hazard Mitigation Assistance webpage, which the link is on that front slide, you'll find the link to the most updated Hazard Mitigation Grant Program handbook. We've updated since the last round. If you go into there, you can find that link. If you're not able to access it, please just email us, and we'll get that to you. And thanks, and I'll add you on the distribution list as well. Great. Well, there will be a second briefing in the coming weeks. I don't have that date in front of me. It is in that statewide email we sent out with the 5394 NOFO. We will also list it again in the email with the slide deck and the link to the presentation. So if there's no other questions, I will give you all some time back in your day. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll look forward to hearing from you for any mitigation ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.